How do we stop overthinking? The incessant hum of thoughts. The relentless replay of past events. The anxious anticipation of future possibilities. This is the internal landscape of overthinking. It is a pervasive human experience. A mental labyrinth where worries multiply, doubts fester, and clarity becomes increasingly elusive. While introspection and thoughtful consideration are valuable cognitive processes, overthinking transcends healthy reflection, morphing into a debilitating cycle that can erode mental well-being, hinder decision-making, and stifle joy. The question then arises, in a world that often encourages analysis and foresight, how do we effectively interrupt this pattern of excessive rumination and regain control over our thoughts? The journey to stopping overthinking is multifaceted, requiring a conscious effort to cultivate new mental habits and challenge ingrained patterns. It is not about suppressing thoughts entirely, an often futile and counterproductive endeavor, but rather about learning to manage their intensity, direction, and duration. This involves a combination of cognitive techniques, mindfulness practices, lifestyle adjustments, and a fundamental shift in our relationship with our own minds. One of the initial and crucial steps in breaking the cycle of overthinking is cultivating self-awareness. Recognizing when we are caught in a loop of rumination is the first battle won. This requires paying attention to our internal state, noticing the signs that our thoughts are becoming repetitive, negative, or unproductive. Are we replaying conversations in our heads? Are we constantly worrying about hypothetical scenarios? Are we dwelling on past mistakes with excessive self-criticism? Developing this metacognitive awareness, the ability to think about our thinking, allows us to identify the triggers and patterns of our overthinking. Journaling can be a powerful tool in this process, providing a space to externalize our thoughts and observe recurring themes and emotional undercurrents. Once we become more aware of our overthinking tendencies, the next step involves challenging negative and unproductive thought patterns. Overthinking often stems from cognitive distortions, irrational ways of thinking that skew our perception of reality. These can include catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome, all or nothing thinking, seeing things in black and white, mental filtering, focusing only on the negative, and personalization, taking things personally when they are not. Learning to identify these distortions is crucial. When we catch ourselves engaging in such thought patterns, we can actively question their validity. What evidence supports this thought? What are alternative perspectives? What is the likelihood of the worst-case scenario actually happening? By consciously challenging these negative thoughts, we can begin to weaken their hold on our minds. Mindfulness meditation offers a powerful antidote to overthinking by training our attention to the present moment. Overthinking often involves dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, effectively pulling us away from the here and now. Mindfulness practices, such as focusing on our breath, bodily sensations, or external stimuli, help us anchor ourselves in the present. When thoughts arise, as they inevitably will, mindfulness teaches us to observe them without judgment, acknowledging their presence without getting carried away by their content. This cultivates a detached awareness, allowing thoughts to pass without triggering the usual cycle of rumination. Regular mindfulness practice can gradually rewire our brains, making it easier to disengage from intrusive thoughts and find a sense of calm amidst the mental chatter. Engaging in activities that absorb our attention can also be an effective way to interrupt overthinking. When our minds are actively focused on a task, hobby, or interaction, there is less mental space for worries and rumination to take hold. This could involve anything from physical exercise and creative pursuits to spending time in nature or engaging in meaningful conversations. The key is to find activities that genuinely captivate our interest and require our concentration. Providing a temporary respite from the internal monologue of overthinking, problem solving, when appropriate, can help address the root causes of some overthinking. Sometimes, our worries stem from actual problems or unresolved issues in our lives. In these cases, simply trying to suppress the thoughts may not be effective. Instead, we can shift from rumination to active problem solving. This involves clearly defining the problem, brainstorming potential solutions, evaluating the pros and cons of each solution, and taking concrete steps towards resolution. By channeling our mental energy into finding practical solutions, we can reduce the anxiety and uncertainty that fuel overthinking. However, It is crucial to distinguish between genuine problem-solving and simply going over the same unsolvable issues repeatedly, which is a form of overthinking itself. Setting boundaries with our thoughts can also be a helpful strategy. Just as we set boundaries in our relationships and with our time, we can learn to set boundaries with our thoughts. This involves consciously deciding when and for how long we will engage with certain worries or concerns. For example, we might allocate a specific 15-minute period each day to address our anxieties, and then consciously choose to redirect our attention to other things for the rest of the time. This prevents worries from dominating our entire day and helps us regain a sense of control over our mental landscape. Challenging our need for certainty and control is another important aspect of overcoming overthinking. Many overthinkers struggle with uncertainty and have a strong desire to predict and control future outcomes. However, life is inherently unpredictable, and trying to anticipate every possible scenario can lead to endless worry and anxiety. Learning to accept a degree of uncertainty and to focus on what we can control, our actions and responses, rather than what we cannot, external events and other people's behavior, can significantly reduce overthinking. Seeking support from others can also be invaluable. Talking to a trusted friend, family member, therapist, or support group can provide a different perspective and help us process our thoughts and feelings. Sometimes, simply verbalizing our worries can lessen their intensity. A therapist can also teach us specific cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, techniques and other strategies to manage overthinking and address any underlying anxiety or depression that may be contributing to it. Practicing self-compassion is crucial in the journey of overcoming overthinking. We are often our own harshest critics, and self-criticism can fuel the cycle of negative rumination. Learning to treat ourselves with kindness, understanding, and acceptance, especially when we are struggling with overthinking, can create a more supportive internal environment. Recognizing that overthinking is a common human experience and that we are not alone in this struggle can reduce feelings of shame and isolation. Making lifestyle adjustments can also have a significant impact on our ability to manage overthinking. Getting enough sleep, eating a balanced diet, and engaging in regular physical activity can improve our overall mood and reduce stress levels, making us less susceptible to rumination. Limiting our exposure to stressors, such as excessive news consumption or toxic social media environments, can also be beneficial. Finally, it is important to remember that stopping overthinking is a process, not a destination. There will be times when we still find ourselves caught in cycles of rumination. The key is to be patient with ourselves, to acknowledge these moments without judgment, and to gently redirect our attention back to the present or to more constructive thoughts and activities. Overcoming overthinking requires consistent effort and the willingness to experiment with different strategies to find what works best for us. By cultivating self-awareness, challenging negative thoughts, practicing mindfulness, engaging in absorbing activities, and adopting a more accepting and compassionate relationship with our minds, we can gradually quiet the internal noise and reclaim our mental peace. The path to a calmer and more present existence lies in learning to observe our thoughts without becoming entangled in them, allowing us to live more fully in the richness of the present moment.